I was sort of taken under the wing of one of our principal engineers. She was like a bit of a mentor, and that was a really great relationship for me, especially in my early career.
One of my female role models would be my nan, forced her way into the world of work from a very young age. Still brought up 2 kids and worked, and she was of a generation where there was an expectation that they stayed at home.
Everyone I can learn from, as everyone got their knowledge, what they know, something I don't know.
I've grown up in a really strong female family. My mum was the first chief executive of a professional football club, so that to me was my inspiration, just seeing her develop in a role which was very male dominated.
Simone Yatch, her whole thing is she makes terrible robots. Her YouTube channel is really funny and shows what you can do as an engineer, but in an entertaining way.
I very much do admire Liz, to be honest. I do see it, how it can be difficult to be a woman in a kind of more scientific or engineering workplace where you see a lot of kind of macho behaviour sometimes. And so it's trying to like fit in and trying to balance yourself with people that you see around you. And I think Liz is doing that brilliantly.
I think Hannah Fry is really cool. She's a professor of mathematics at Cities, and she teaches it in such a way that it's easy to follow. But she's also a mum, she's married, her husband is a stay-at-home dad. That's really inspiring to know that you kind of can have it all, but even people like Hannah Fry need support.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my mum and my maths teacher initially getting the ball rolling with helping me so much with my maths, because I struggled so much in school. And they take time after school. Slowly I got better and eventually the penny dropped.
You have to be seen as being strong and having it together all the time. And I think that's a really dangerous stereotype to have.
I've not experienced stereotyping in general. I feel like if you're in a room full of engineers, male and female, you're just in a room full of engineers.
It's almost like they're reversed now, and you have like positive discrimination. People trip over themselves to make sure that women are included, and they're seen including women.
Women in science or engineering field are underrepresented. For example, at school I wasn't inspired to work for this field.
There used to be, and I think there probably still is, but I think they are starting to break down a bit more and more increase of women in engineering roles. Like here, for instance, we've got a lot of women in engineering roles here.
One thing I would say is that there's a lot fewer women, obviously. When I was at university, they said there's about 30% women in the cohort, and this is the best it's ever been. And then when I came here to Plessey, it does feel like an inclusive environment, but there are very few women.
I think that there can be a bit of an attitude that femininity and science don't really blend very well. So it's not always obvious, but I'll be invited via email and phone calls to come do a talk about science. And then I show up in a dress and there's clearly like a bit of an expectation that that's not what I'd be wearing. You can see that it doesn't add up in their minds.
Stereotypes I've experienced is being asked to take notes in a meeting, and it might be because I'm in my early career and I'm often the youngest person in the room, but I'm often also the only woman in the room.
Because we're both in our early careers, so sometimes it's very difficult to pinpoint, is that because I'm a female or is that just because of an age thing?
It's hard to tell why people are treating you the way that they are treating you. There's definitely been occasions where, like at uni, I've got awards and I've been the only person of colour, I've been the only woman in the room, and people say, oh, we know why Rihanna's got that award. Just go for it. Maybe you don't tick all the criteria, but I feel like if a man is applying to that job, they don't necessarily have the same hold-ups that we do, so just don't be afraid of going for something.
Challenge yourself. Put yourself in situations where you probably aren't that comfortable, but where you can shine, and just know that everyone's in the same boat.
Be confident and have a voice, because your opinion and your diagnosis of an issue is no less because of your gender.
I do feel like you might need to be a bit more tenacious maybe. If you want to make a mark, you do need to push the men aside a little bit, whereas it might come a lot easier for men in the same kind of field or the same role.
Don't be afraid to change your mind, because it's all good and well diving into something and being like, yes, this is what I want to do, and then months, maybe years in, you realise actually this isn't what I want to do anymore. I think there can be quite a bit of fear in walking away from something.
To be afraid, to be up to challenge, to be ready for a change, because I think change is very important, and we have to break down these stereotypes.
Don't be afraid to stand up for not only yourself but other women as well. It's really easy to just let small comments slide, but in the long run it's really not worth it. And a lot of people just don't want to be the first one to say something. So once you speak up, you'll find that a lot of other people agree with you and are like, yeah, that's not an acceptable thing to say.
You can just sort of accept things the way they are, but you can just go for it, talk to your boss, hey, I want to try something new, I'd like this training, and they do listen.
What I like that about here though is the fact that so many people have done so many different roles. So you do have the option to change your mind and try something different.
Ask the questions, learn what you can, but just don't be in competition with anyone. The only competition you've got is yourself.